Hold it in the world. And now it wants to work. Amazing. I've been thinking of this thing for a couple days as an alternative. And now, folks, that's hilarious. I won't know, however, about my audio. My audio's been whack the last couple days. The audio's off. Don't know. Yeah. Eventually, I'm gonna have to get something to fix the audio. Let's see here. Taking this. Yeah, it's cool. At least it's working. That's one new step. So tonight, I decided to wait on reviewing the shooter's mental health history, and it's not surprising to me that I did. I was actually a psych major before I transferred to USC and decided to switch paths entirely because I found psychology hopeless because one of my coworkers where I worked at Trader Joe's in the South Bay in Los Angeles had uh, blown my mind um, as he expressed his immense turmoil. And he put into words for me the ultimate shortfall of any kind of evolutionary psychology or general psychology, anything that doesn't take into account God and sin in life. He said, I have a definition for everything wrong with me, but I have no idea how to fix it. And over the course of a couple of days, when I was hanging out with him and his wife was cheating on him, he decided to take his own life, and that was really hard for me. At the time, I was kind of a baby Christian, and I was thinking psychology would be the way to fix the world's problems, but that complete refutation and glaring rebuke of the limitations of psychology, where it becomes great for definitions, but not great for any kind of change. It doesn't remove the, the problems at times. It doesn't provide the ability to survive when things are terrible. Yeah, that pushed me away from psychology pretty quick, and I left it behind and try some backlighting so that I actually look like a person. Or that might be too much negative, though. I'm experimenting with an old computer at this point. Yeah, but then, of course, going over the tragedy in Uvalde, and yeah, definitely going to put off the shooter's part. I will do it tomorrow night. I suppose I'll go over it um, just to refresh my memory and then kind of parse through his immense culpability and the disturbed nature of that guy. Um, it's been easier to look at the blatant failures of police and school administrators, etc. Uh, in part because they're not evil. They made terrible mistakes and they displayed cowardice, which I think is a consequence of agnosticism or atheism. If you just don't know that you're not going to go until it's your time, then you will be afraid of every virus and thing that comes across your table, and every and you'd be scared of everything. Um, yeah, been a heck of a day. I enjoy. I'm not doing, but I think that certainly would bode well for my ability to communicate in a quick and effective manner because I talk so freely that my wife is there. What a blessing. What a beautiful wife is. They really do help you find out who you are as a man. decided to use the thumbnail of my kids today because, man, that's everything. I've been blessed with a huge family. I got 6 kids. And I just want to do well for them. And I suppose all this stuff will be a video diary in the long run, but they know that they spend time with me every day. They know it matters. Just family, and I believe the Word of God is. This world's pretty dark, and the more that I read this report, the more that I see that seems to be so much political interest and so much obfuscation. Is absolutely fascinating. I haven't seen a single article that highlighted the dangers of illegal immigration in the local Texas community, but as I've posted on social media, I've had folks from Uvaldens, my neighbors, because I'm just a city over, and they're talking about it. They're like, "Hey, yeah, this is a problem," and pretty cool. I follow a really excellent lawyer by the name of Robert Barnes, who gives regular breakdowns on political and social issues, and he mentioned some of the things that I've been reading and trying to talk about. So that's excellent. Uh, I had the opportunity to talk to another guy, Corey DeAngelis, just thinking about the way that the school system, as busted and broken as it is limiting people. And these families were in a press conference yesterday begging not to go back if it's unsafe. And I definitely, my heart goes out to them. We homeschool our kids. I, I don't trust uh, the way that schools handle children. They are chattel for financial purposes. It suits the goals of the district. Um, Kids are, in some sense, literally experimented on. I went to USC and they have a huge education school there called Rossier School of Education. And when I was reading through Thomas Sowell's book, and I think it was Black Rednecks and White Liberals, I think, he discussed the fact that simple phonics would greatly improve the education of Mexican Americans in the LAUSD school system. And yet, they decided to defer to other friendlier versions, other um, respectful modes of teaching, which I find asinine. As someone has come here, I love, me gusta español, y me hablo un poquito, pero, but I like Spanish and I speak a little, but this is America, and we were founded by the British, and we've been past English, and it's the lingua franca of this place. And so, the best thing you can do for young people is teach them phonics and teach them to read. That's it, and then they can self-educate. There's a large extent to which my kids are able to self-educate. We have curriculum, a bunch back there on that desk over there, Bob books, and all sorts of stuff. We got all kinds of things for the kids to be able to buy hundreds and thousands of dollars in curriculum. But it starts with phonics, and any education system that's unwilling to give kids the eduque, I think it means to bring out the darkness. It's unwilling to train kids in how to learn information. It should be thrown by the wayside, and it's frankly closer to experimentation than education. It's a pedagogy of peril. Can't really abide that personally. I think it's disgusting. You know, I was homeschooled, and up until high school, then I went to a continuation school to just hurry up and finish. Then I spent 5 years away from school. Then I went to a community college and aced everything that I touched because I was homeschooled. The expectations of my mother were far greater than any school in my local community, including private schools, where she had me memorize hundreds of things and write them down verbatim for my test, because that was the way that homeschoolers did in the time, especially because they were under immense pressure from uh, probably school lobbyists in the long run. I don't really know. I just know that it was looked upon as odd to be homeschooling your children. And my mom joined HSLDA, which is the Homeschool Legal Defense Fund, and now it's the norm. And frankly, homeschool kids perform a lot better. As soon as I left the community college, I got accepted at every single university I applied to, including USC, and it's because I had a 3.89 GPA while I was working full time. And I did school like it wasn't a big deal. Thank God for that. Single parent family, and all that. But still able to accomplish a lot because my mom was willing to take the time and educate me. And it seems to me pretty wild that these families are pushed into the corner and forced to take their kids back to an unsafe situation. And I've been talking just briefly to a fellow named Corey DeAngelis who does school choice advocacy, and I think that that might be a really good solution for the families in Uvalde and families in Texas in general. Myself, I'm a homeowner in Texas, pay for the local education, and I buy my own curriculum, which means that I'm paying twice, paying for your kids and mine. And I think that that should change. It should be more fair. If people are supporting their local community through taxes, they should see some of those benefits, and they should be able to take those benefits where they wish. And for us, it's homeschool, because I've seen that this perilous pedagogy of testing and experimentation has produced terrible results. Our country's fallen in so many areas, and frankly, only the most affluent, which I'm not. My family, I grew up on welfare with my mom, a Caucasian mother, and the fact that it's produced such overwhelming, continuous, multi-generational poverty, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of our education system and the hand-me-downs of unending welfare. It's very tragic to me that people aspire to so little. I think it's a great soft landing for someone who loses a job, but it can also become a perilous mire, a slough that people can get caught in. And yeah, so I think that Corey has some really great points about the idea of school choice, and I hope that it advances in the state of Texas so that people are able to take their kids where they want, especially if their kids have been traumatized. That to me is wild. And the superintendent of that local district seemed com- completely consumed with his own concerns and placating parents, and not necessarily changing the situation. So this one, it doesn't have a lot of hashtags and stuff. It may not go out very far, but I wanted to start doing some more ad-lib content because I think it's going to be a big part of my development and my speech practice. Not that I lack for speech, I just talk all day. That's my job. But I want to be practicing cohesive and well thought out explanations of the world as I see it. I spent the last couple of years really putting together a good series and set of reliable sources to borrow from Brian Stelter. Uh, Good news, solid information, and then honing the ability to trust my own opinions about what in the media things to broadcast because, my goodness, there are so many things in everyday media and corporate media that it's not what they say that is always the problem either. When I think about like an ABC, it's what they don't even talk about. When I think about this Uvalde report I've been reading, I don't think I've seen a single place talking about illegal immigration being a major factor um, in the desensitization of teachers. They weren't paying attention to the alerts and alarms that day, and frankly, because they were desensitized, because there's such an influx of illegal immigration in our communities here in Texas that they go off all the time. The alarms go off readily, regularly, and they figured it was another false alarm. How many times are people going to lose their lives because of the side effects of things like mass immigration? That's not the illegal immigration. Someone corrected me on Facebook about that earlier. I mean, it is illegal immigration. It's just surprising that it is at such scale. And there's people dying in big rigs in the local community. I'm being desensitized too. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, so much interesting stuff to begin to parse and kind of share. I like the idea of putting together useful information that I can broadly share. And hopefully folks really enjoy the content. Today's a bit of a just for the practice stream, but I think over time, hopefully I'll really continue to add valuable analysis to the things that we see in today's world from a bit of a different perspective, as someone who's a father and a husband and a Christian man, and someone who's going to look at things as they are, just kind of generally, but then also fall back and think, gosh, um, what do I want my family to know about something like this? I was talking with my brother, and it was overwhelming the sense that there was just cowardice in the response to Uvalde and the Robb Elementary shooting. And then we started talking about recent viral videos that we've seen. There was a pizza delivery guy who rushed into a house and saved 5 people because he was willing to run in there and do it. And meanwhile, the cops and firefighters didn't really provide as much assistance as that one fella who gashed himself terribly, and they ended up tying off his arm in order to cut off the blood, and then calling the ambulance for him. But the man had nerves of steel and ran in there and cared about the people that were in that building more than his own welfare and well-being. I think the same thing happened in Escondido, which is a town that my brother and I grew up in, where he was telling me a story about an officer who was yelling at a burning building where there was some kids inside, and the officer was basically suggesting that the kids should come out. I don't think he knew who was in there, which is a problem in and of itself. But basically, he was suggesting that the kids should come out, yelling at the window that people should get out of there. And a neighbor heard what was going on, and he knew that there were young children in there, 3 kids under 8. It seemed like 2 under 4 from what our brother said. And the man went ahead and jumped into the home, broke the window out, and grabbed the kids. And it's just such a difference between someone who's willing to act and someone who is bound by indifference, willing to imagine that there isn't, um, kind of like the police chief from Uvalde. Someone who's willing to imagine that the room is empty versus someone who says, no, I know there's people in there. Right? And when it comes to Uvalde, it's a school at 11:30 in the afternoon, in the morning, frankly. It's a school at 11:30 in the morning. There's someone in there. Um, but some people would rather entertain their imaginings than deal with reality. I'm just going to pull up and see what this is. Yeah, Eskim's firefighters in command for saving the sun. Let's see. I wonder if I can find the article. That one's old. I may not be able to find it. I certainly didn't prepare anything. Yeah, but I did find that other article. The 25-year-old man who saved the 5 kids from a burning building. Lafayette, the Indiana man quickly sprung into action to save 5 children from a burning home after it went up in flames early Monday morning. A camera worn by a police officer arriving at the scene captured the moment. Nicholas Bostic, 25, was running out of the home while carrying a 6-year-old to safety. Bostic told police he was driving by the home when he saw there was a fire, according to NBC affiliate in Indianapolis. He pulled over and ran inside the house. There he found 4 children ranging from 1 to 18. Bostic told police he helped them escape, only to discover there may have been a 6-year-old still inside, prompting him to go back into the home. He said he heard the child crying, found the girl downstairs. He brought her to found the girl downstairs. He brought her to the second floor, where he broke the window. Okay, so there's a raging fire on the first floor. He broke the window, jumped out with it. What a guy, right? I was talking to my brother about this. Courage is something that doesn't seem to be able to be trained. It just doesn't. There's all kinds of training that happened in Uvalde. When push came to shove, lives are on the line. These guys did nothing. There are 40 guys in the hallway. A circle of jerks, which is insane. Whereas here you have one man driving pizzas around for pennies, and he's willing to put it all on the line because he values the people in the house. He doesn't even know what a difference in the worldview. I was reading with my kids tonight because I'm a Christian. I was reading that Bible, and we were reading through Samuel, and uh, Samuel 13, 1 Samuel 13 and 14. The son of the king Saul is considering going up and attacking the enemy empire of the Philistines, and he says to his armor bearer, he says, let's go over there, let's attack them. And he proposes that if they invite him into the camp, then he'll attack. And so he makes himself known to the enemy group, and they go ahead and say, hey, come on over here, essentially mocking him. The armor bearer and Jonathan's, Saul's son, are able to kill something like 20 people. Panic breaks out among the group. They had bravery, right? They were willing to go into overwhelming odds, and success was theirs because they were willing to go. The enemy was completely unaware. It might seem like a bit of a stretch, but I don't think it is. I think that same truth, the power of bravery, that story I just read, um, it really illustrates how very powerful it is when a person has conviction and is willing to put their life on the line for those convictions. Those convictions will stand the test of time and are intangible, but become very actionable in those kind of circumstances. So watching that was amazing. Um, Watching the gentleman save the kids from the fire, or the other one I heard about from my younger brother, uh, and of course reading that and seeing that contrast. I was thinking about an interesting proverb that basically uh, people fear irrationally when they don't believe in God. And I think, let me see if I can pull that one up. Yeah, I can't quote off the top of my head yet. I gotta practice more. But like I said, that's what part of this is. For me to hone my skills and ability to speak regularly and my impromptu searches. There we go. There it is. Alright, so that verse. Oh, no, I think I can read YouTube. So the wicked flee when no one pursues. There we go. Alright, so it's Proverbs 28:1. The wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as the lion. Dang! You know, if you are confident, you know that what you're doing is right, then you just go and put yourself in a situation where you trust God with the results. And it seems to me like there is a lot of insecurity in the world now. That people, they do not trust God, and subsequently, like I said, that the wicked flee when no one pursues. There's not even a danger when people are scared. The anxiety in our culture is proof of that. People are worried about climate change, worried about COVID, worried about inflation, worried about immigration, worried about, man, it can be paralyzing. Or you could trust God with your life and it's going to work out. It's one or the other. You cannot serve worry and be a slave to that and trust God. You can only pick one. You either trust God or you can no longer serve that worry. It doesn't mean you don't consider things and do the best you can by by making the best use of the faculties God gives you, your reason and your ability to kind of forecast and understand possibilities, your ability to assess risk. All of that is crucial, useful. But at the end of the day, you just gotta trust God and do the right thing. Anyway, end the live stream there, and I hope you have a great evening. Vacation Bible School tomorrow, so that'll be fun for me and the kids.